The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched for nearly a mile in every direction. Floating platforms held delegates from 200 different species. Lights of every color blinked and glowed as translation devices worked to convert thousands of languages into something everyone could understand. Ambassador Yuna stood alone on the central platform. She was a small woman with short black hair and calm eyes. Her white uniform was simple compared to the golden robes and jeweled armor worn by the alien delegates around her. She did not seem nervous. She did not seem angry. She simply waited. "The Council will now hear the charges against the human species," announced the head speaker. A tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms. His name was Morath, and he had led the Council for 60 years. Yuna watched as the first accuser floated forward. It was a Vellani, a species that looked like walking trees with glowing blue eyes. The Vellani spoke in a voice like wind, through leaves. "Humans spread too fast," the Vellani said. "In only 200 years, they have colonized 47 worlds. They breed like insects. They consume resources without thinking about tomorrow. They will eat the galaxy alive if we do not stop them." Many delegates made sounds of agreement. Yuna said nothing. A second accuser came forward. This one was a Rethki, a species of small creatures covered in silver fur. The Rethki's voice was high and sharp. "Humans disrupt our trade," the Rethki complained. "They build things faster and cheaper than anyone else. Our merchants cannot compete. Our factories close. Our workers starve. Humans take everything and leave nothing for others." More sounds of agreement filled the hall. Yuna remained still. A third accuser appeared. This was a Torvax, a massive creature with scales and 6 legs. The Torvax's voice was deep enough to shake the floor. "Humans are dangerous," the Torvax growled. "They fight wars among themselves. They create weapons that could destroy planets. They are violent by nature. One day, they will turn their weapons on us. We must act before it is too late." The hall erupted in noise. Hundreds of voices shouted their agreement. Lights flashed in patterns that meant anger and fear. The message was clear. The galaxy did not want humans. Morath raised his 4 arms, and the noise slowly died down. He looked at Yuna with his large, dark eyes. "Ambassador Yuna," Morath said, "you have heard the charges against your species. Do you wish to speak in your defense?" Yuna looked around the hall. She saw fear in some eyes. She saw hatred in others. She saw greed in many. These species had decided what they wanted before she even arrived. Any words she spoke would mean nothing. But she spoke anyway. "I thank the Council for this opportunity," Yuna said. Her voice was soft but somehow reached every corner of the massive hall. "I have listened to the charges. I understand your concerns. But I must ask you to consider some facts." She pressed a button on her small device, and numbers appeared in the air above her head. "In the past 50 years, Yuna continued, human doctors have cured 6 diseases that killed millions of Vellani children. Human engineers designed the navigation systems that guide Rethki trade ships. Human soldiers fought beside Torvax warriors to defend your border worlds from pirates." The hall grew quiet. Some delegates looked uncomfortable. "We did not ask for payment," Yuna said. "We did not ask for thanks. We helped because helping is what humans do. We saw problems, and we fixed them. We saw suffering, and we tried to end it." She paused and looked directly at Morath. "But I can see that our help is not wanted. I can see that our presence causes fear. So I will not waste your time, or mine, with more words." Morath leaned forward. "Then you accept the Council's judgment?" "I accept that the Council has already made its decision," Yuna said. "I am not foolish enough to think I can change 200 minds that were closed before I arrived." Morath nodded slowly. "Very well. The Council will now vote on Resolution 7742, the prohibition of human presence in galactic space. All species in favor?" Lights began to glow across the hall. Green for yes. Red for no. The green lights spread like a wave, covering platform after platform. Yuna counted quietly in her head. 112, 140, 173. When the vote ended, 189 species had voted yes. Only 11 had voted no. Earth was prohibited from galactic space. Morath looked at Yuna with something that might have been pity. The resolution passes. Humanity has 30 standard days to remove all ships, stations, and personnel from galactic territory. After that time, any human presence will be considered a hostile act. Yuna bowed. It was a small, polite bow. The kind a person gives when leaving a business meeting that did not go well. I understand, she said. We will leave. She turned to go, but Morath spoke again. Ambassador Yuna, is there nothing else you wish to say? No anger? No threats? No promises of revenge? Yuna stopped. She looked back over her shoulder, and for the first time, she smiled. It was a small smile, but somehow it made several delegates feel cold. No, head speaker, Yuna said. Humans do not make threats. We simply remember. She walked off the platform and did not look back. In the hall, the delegates celebrated. They cheered and congratulated each other. They had solved the human problem. They had protected the galaxy. They had shown the young, aggressive species that the older civilizations would not be pushed aside. None of them noticed the 11 species who had voted no. These 11 did not celebrate. They did not cheer. They simply watched Yuna leave with worried eyes. One of them, an old Fenari with white feathers, turned to his aide. Send a message to our home world, the Fenari said quietly. Tell them to stockpile everything the humans ever sold us. Medicine, food, technology, everything. Why? The aide asked. The old Fenari watched the doors close behind Yuna. Because I have lived for 300 years, he said. And I have learned one truth about humans. When they smile at you after you have hurt them, it means they know something you do not. The aide looked confused, but sent the message anyway. On her ship, Yuna removed her white uniform and put on simple clothes. She poured herself a cup of tea and sat by the window, watching the council station grow smaller in the distance. Her communication device beeped. She pressed a button, and a face appeared on the screen. It was Admiral Han, a serious man with gray hair and sharp eyes. How did it go? Han asked. Exactly as we expected, Yuna said. 189 to 11. Han nodded. Then we proceed with the plan? Yuna sipped her tea. We proceed. 30 days to remove everything. Let us make sure we remove everything. Han smiled. It was the same small, knowing smile that Yuna had shown the council. Understood, Ambassador. I will begin immediately. The screen went dark. Yuna continued to drink her tea and watch the stars. In 30 days, everything would change. The galaxy just did not know it yet. Admiral Han stood on the command deck of the carrier ship Everest and watched his fleet move through space. 3,000 human vessels traveled in perfect formation. Cargo ships, medical transports, construction platforms, mining stations, all of them heading in one direction. Home. Status report, Han said to his second-in-command, a young officer named Gina. Gina checked her screens. All human stations in Sector 7 have been emptied. Personnel evacuation is complete. Equipment removal is 92% finished. And the Villani medical centers? Our doctors left yesterday. They took all their supplies and equipment. The Villani tried to stop them, but our people had legal ownership documents for everything. Han nodded. This was the key to the plan. Humans had never sold anything to the galaxy. They had only loaned it. Every piece of medical equipment, every navigation system, every power generator still legally belonged to humanity. The galaxy had been using borrowed things for 200 years. Now the owners wanted their property back. What about the Rethki trade routes? Han asked. Gina smiled. Captain Dong pulled the last navigation beacons this morning. The Rethki will have to use their old star maps now. The ones from before we improved them. Their old maps are 200 years out of date, Han said. Many stars have moved. Many routes are no longer safe. Yes, sir. But that is not our problem anymore. Han walked to the main window. Outside, he could see the great Torvax border station growing smaller. Human engineers had built that station. Human workers had maintained it. Now both were gone, and the station was already starting to fall apart. A communication screen lit up behind him. It was Morath, the head speaker of the Galactic Council. "Admiral Han," Morath said. His forearms moved in patterns that showed confusion. "What is happening? Why are your people removing everything?" Han turned slowly. "We are following the Council's orders. We are leaving galactic space. But you are taking things that do not belong to you. Medical equipment, communication systems, power stations. These things belong to the species who use them." "No," Han said calmly. "These things belong to humanity. We built them. We own them. We only allowed others to use them. Now that we are prohibited from galactic space, we must take our property with us." Morath's gray skin turned slightly purple. This meant he was becoming upset. "This is not what we intended. You cannot simply take everything." "The resolution said nothing about property," Han replied. "It said humans must leave. It did not say humans must leave their belongings behind. We are following the exact words of your law. This will cause problems. Hospitals will close. Ships will become lost. Stations will fail. Yes, they will." Morath leaned closer to the screen. "Admiral, be reasonable. Many people will suffer. Many people will die." Han's eyes grew hard. "Head speaker, let me ask you a question. When your council voted to prohibit humanity, did you think about the suffering of human colonists? Did you think about the children who would lose their homes? Did you think about the workers who would lose their jobs?" Morath did not answer. "I thought not," Han said. "You saw humans as a problem to be removed. You did not see us as people. Now you will learn what the galaxy looks like without us." He pressed a button, and the screen went dark. Gina watched him carefully. "Sir, was that wise? The Council might become aggressive." "They might," Han agreed. "But they will not. Their military has been using human targeting systems for 80 years. Without us, they cannot aim their weapons. They cannot even find their enemies. They're Khan. What happens when they learn to make their own systems?" Han smiled. "That will take them at least 50 years. Humans invented these systems in a single generation. Other species are not so quick." The fleet continued its journey. Day after day, more human ships joined them. Scientists from research stations, teachers from schools, builders from construction sites, farmers from food colonies. Every human in the galaxy was going home. On the planet Velen Prime, doctors watched their medical machines stop working one by one. Human technicians had installed special codes in every device. Without regular updates from Earth, the machines simply shut down. Elder Brennick, of the Velani, stood in a hospital full of silent equipment. Around him, patients lay in beds, with no way to treat them. "Can we fix this?" he asked his chief scientist. The scientist, a young Velani with dim blue eyes, shook his head. "The humans designed everything in ways we do not understand. We can see what the machines do, but we cannot see how they work. It would take decades to figure out. In a teen you never. We do not have decades. We have sick people dying now. Then perhaps we should not have voted to remove the humans." Brennick turned to stare at the scientist. "You forget yourself. I speak truth. The humans helped us for 200 years. They asked for nothing. They took nothing. And we threw them away because we were afraid of them." In Rethke space, trade ships floated without direction. The old navigation systems were useless. Stars had shifted. Routes had changed. Ships that tried to use the old maps ended up in empty space. Or worse, inside gas clouds that destroyed their engines. Trademaster Kell sat in his office on Rethke Prime and watched his economy collapse. Every hour brought news of another lost ship, another failed delivery, another angry customer demanding goods that would never arrive. "How bad is it?" he asked his assistant. "Our trade volume has dropped by 70%. If this continues, we will have no economy within 6 months. Can we not ask other species for help?" "We tried. The Villani need help themselves. The Torvax never developed navigation technology. Everyone used human systems. Kel put his head in his small, furry hands. We are fools. Complete fools. On the Torvax border, pirates attacked stations that no longer had defenses. Human weapons had protected these stations for generations. Now those weapons sat silent, waiting for operators who would never return. Commander Grath of the Torvax military watched his border fall apart. Pirate ships moved freely through space that had once been secure. Colonies called for help that he could not send. Our ships cannot target the enemy, his officer reported. The human systems are locked. We try to aim, but our weapons fire in random directions. Then fight close range, use our natural strength. The pirates know this. They stay far away and shoot us from distances we cannot reach. Grath slammed his massive fist against his desk. The desk broke into pieces. Those humans. They made us weak. They made us depend on them. No, Commander. They made us strong. We made ourselves weak by sending them away. On Earth, Yuna watched the reports come in. She sat in a small office with simple furniture and a single window showing a garden outside. The garden had flowers from 12 different planets. All of them had been gifts from species that had once called humanity friend. Her communication device showed messages from across the galaxy. Calls for help. Demands for explanation. Threats of violence. Begging for forgiveness. She read them all and answered none. Admiral Han entered the office. The withdrawal is complete. Every human is home. Every piece of human property is back where it belongs. Good, Yuna said. Now we wait. How long? Yuna looked out at her garden. Until they understand. Until they realize what they lost. Until they are ready to treat us as equals instead of problems. Han sat down across from her. Some will say we are being cruel. People are dying out there. People are dying because other species made a choice. They chose to remove us. They chose their fear over our friendship. We did not cause this suffering. We simply stopped preventing it. Han was quiet for a moment. Do you think they will learn? Some will not. But either way, humanity will never again be treated as less than others. We have been polite guests in the galaxy for 200 years. Now the galaxy will learn what happens when the guests go home. Outside the window, the flowers from distant worlds bloomed in Earth's sun. Beautiful things that had come from places that now wanted nothing to do with humanity. Yuna wondered if those places would still exist when this was over. 6 months passed. The galaxy had never known such quiet. Earth had gone completely dark. No signals came from human space. No ships appeared at the borders. No messages answered the thousands of calls sent by desperate species. It was as if 47 worlds and 12 billion humans had simply vanished. On Velen Prime, the hospitals were silent in a different way. Elder Brennak walked through empty halls where patients had once been treated. Now those halls held only dust and memories. The death count had reached 2 million. 2 million Villani who had died from diseases that human medicine could have cured in hours. 2 million families broken because the galaxy had been afraid of the species that wanted to help them. Brennak stopped at a window and looked out at his city. The streets below were half empty. Many Villani had left for distant colonies, hoping to find better lives. They would not find them. The entire galaxy was suffering. Elder, a voice said behind him. It was his assistant, a young Villani named Senik. The council is calling. They want to discuss the human situation. What is there to discuss? We cannot reach them. We cannot find them. We cannot even see into their space. Some council members believe we should send ships. Force the humans to talk to us. Brennak turned to face Senik. His old eyes held nothing but tiredness. Send ships? With what weapons? With what navigation? Our military cannot find its way across the room without human technology. How would they find their way to Earth? I do not know, Elder. I only report what the Council says. The Council says many things. Most of them are foolish. On Rethki Prime, the economy had collapsed completely. Trademaster Kell had resigned in shame. The new trademaster, a female named Sobi, had inherited a disaster. Ships sat in ports with nowhere to go. Factories stood empty, with no materials to process. Markets sold nothing because there was nothing to sell. The great Rethki trading empire, which had lasted for 1,000 years, was dying. Sobi sat in her office and looked at reports she could not understand. Numbers that made no sense, projections that showed only darkness. How did this happen? She asked the air. How did we become so dependent on one species? Her advisor, an old Rethki named Mern, answered from his chair in the corner. It happened slowly. Over 200 years. The humans offered better tools, so we used them. They offered better ships, so we bought them. They offered better systems, so we installed them. And one day, we woke up and realized we had forgotten how to do anything ourselves. We should have been more careful. We should have been smarter. But we were greedy. Human technology was cheap and good. Why spend money making our own when we could simply buy theirs? Sobi slammed her paw on the desk. But they gave us these things. They wanted us to use them. Yes, they did. And now I wonder if they always knew this day would come. If they always planned to make themselves necessary. You think they planned this? From the beginning? Mern shrugged his small shoulders. I think humans are smarter than we believed. I think they saw how the galaxy treated them. I think they prepared for the day when the galaxy would throw them away. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, Morath faced 200 angry delegates. The species that had celebrated the human expulsion now screamed for solutions. We are starving, shouted a Vellani representative. Our ships are lost, cried a Rethki merchant. Pirates attack our worlds, roared a Torvax commander. Morath raised his forearms. But the noise did not stop. For the first time in 60 years, the council did not respect his authority. They were too scared. Too desperate. Please, Morath said, his voice tired. Please. Let us speak calmly. Calmly? The Torvax commander stepped forward. His massive body made the platform shake. My people are dying. Our border colonies are being raided every day. Children are being taken as slaves. And you want me to be calm? The situation is difficult for everyone. The situation is your fault. You led the vote against humanity. You convinced us they were dangerous. Now look at us. We are weaker than ever. Morath felt very old in that moment. He had led the council through wars and crises. He had kept 200 species united for 6 decades. But he had never faced anything like this. I did what I thought was right, he said quietly. Humans were expanding too fast. They were becoming too powerful. I feared what they would become in another 100 years. And now? What do you fear now? Morath looked at the empty platform where Yuna had stood 6 months ago. He remembered her small smile, her calm voice, her words about humans remembering. Now I fear we have made the worst mistake in galactic history. On the edge of human space, a Fenari ship floated in the darkness. Old Captain Breen had been watching this border for 3 months. Watching and waiting for any sign of human activity, he saw nothing. No ships, no signals, no lights. Human space was as dark as the void between galaxies. Anything? He asked his sensor officer. Nothing, Captain. Not even background radiation. It is as if they have blocked everything. That is impossible. You cannot block radiation. Then they have found a way to do the impossible. Again, Breen moved closer to his viewing window. Somewhere out there, beyond the darkness, 12 billion humans lived on 47 worlds. They had cities and farms and factories. They had families and children and dreams, but they shared none of it with the galaxy anymore. What are they doing in there? Breen wondered aloud. Perhaps they are waiting, the sensor officer said. Waiting for what? For us to understand what we lost. Breen thought about his home world. The Fenari had been one of the 11 species that voted against the human expulsion. Because of this, they still had some human technology. They still had some human medicine. They were suffering less than others, But they were still suffering. Human goods had connected the entire galaxy. Without human trade ships, even species with human equipment could not get repairs or supplies. Everything was falling apart. "Send a message to the Council," Breen said. "Tell them the human border is completely sealed. There is no way to contact them. No way to reach them. No way to change what we have done." The message was sent. The Council received it with silence. On Earth, Yuna sat in her garden and read a book. The flowers had grown tall and beautiful over the past months. Without galactic responsibilities, she had time to take care of them properly. Her communication device had been turned off for weeks. She did not want to hear the galaxy's begging. Not yet. Admiral Han found her there, surrounded by colors from distant worlds. "The Council is becoming desperate," Han said. "Our intelligence reports show their economies are failing. Their governments are losing control. Some species are fighting wars over the resources that remain." Yuna turned a page in her book. "Expected. They have tried to send ships into our space. Our border defenses turned them away without violence, as you ordered." "Good. Violence would send the wrong message." Han sat on a stone bench nearby. "How much longer do we wait?" "Until they are ready." "Ready for what?" Yuna closed her book and looked at her garden. "Ready to see us as partners instead of tools. Ready to treat us as equals instead of servants. Ready to understand that helping others does not make you weak, it makes you necessary. Some species may never learn that lesson. Then some species will not survive. That is their choice, not ours." Han was quiet for a long moment. "Sometimes I wonder if we are being too harsh." Yuna smiled sadly. "We gave them 200 years of kindness, Han. We healed their sick. We fed their hungry. We protected their weak. And they repaid us with fear and exile. Harshness is the only language some people understand." She stood and walked among her flowers, touching petals that had traveled across the stars. "But when they are ready," she said, "when they truly understand what they did, we will be here." Humans do not forget. But we also do not hold grudges forever. We will give them one more chance. And if they waste it? Yuna's eyes grew hard. Then the galaxy will learn to live without us. Permanently. In the darkness of space, the border between human territory and the rest of the galaxy remained silent. A wall of nothing that separated two futures. On one side, chaos and collapse. On the other side, patience and planning. The galaxy had voted to prohibit Earth. Now Earth was teaching the galaxy what that vote truly meant. 1 year after the vote, Morath sat alone in his private office. The great hall of the council was empty now. Most delegates had returned to their homeworlds to deal with local disasters. The galactic government that had ruled for 10,000 years was falling apart. Papers covered his desk, reports from every corner of the galaxy. Each one told the same story in different words. The Villani had lost 30% of their population. Disease had spread through their worlds like fire through dry grass. Without human medicine, they could only watch and count the dead. The Rethki economy had completely stopped. No trade, no commerce, no money. Their people had returned to a simple life, growing food and making clothes by hand. 1,000 years of progress, gone in 12 months. The Torvax had lost half their border territory. Pirates and raiders had taken world after world. The great warriors who had once terrified the galaxy now hid behind walls they could barely defend. And these were just the major species. Smaller civilizations had fared even worse. Some had disappeared entirely. Their people scattered, or dead. Morath put his head in his 4 hands and felt tears fall from his dark eyes. "I did this," he whispered to the empty room. "I convinced them to vote. I led them to destruction. I led them to destruction." A soft knock came at his door. He wiped his face and sat up straight. "Enter." The door opened, and his assistant stepped inside. "Head speaker, you have a visitor." "I am not meeting anyone today, sir." "I think you will want to meet this one." "Something?" Morath looked up, confused. Then his visitor stepped through the door, and he felt his heart stop. It was Captain Gina. The same Gina who had served under Admiral Han. The same Gina who had helped remove every piece of human technology from the galaxy. She wore civilian clothes now. Simple and plain. Her black hair was longer than he remembered. "Hello, head speaker," Gina said. Her voice was calm, almost friendly. Morath could not speak for a moment. A human. A human was standing in his office. After a year of silence, a human had come. "How did you get here?" He finally managed to ask. "I walked through your front door. Your guards did not stop me. I think they were too surprised to move. But how did you reach this station?" "Our sensors should have detected your ship." Gina smiled. It was a small smile, patient and knowing. "Your sensors use technology we designed. We know how to avoid them." Morath felt a chill run through his body. If humans could reach the council station without being detected, they could reach anywhere. They could be anywhere. "Why are you here?" he asked. Gina walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "I had friends here once. Colleagues. People I worked with for many years. I wanted to see how they were doing. Most of them are dead or gone. The station is almost empty." "I know. I visited their homes on my way here." Empty. Abandoned. Sad. Morath stood from his desk. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself to approach her. "Captain Gina, I must ask you, please. We are dying. The entire galaxy is dying. Is there nothing humanity can do to help us?" Gina turned to face him. Her eyes were not angry, but they were not warm either. They were the eyes of someone who had been hurt and had not forgotten. "Help you? Like we helped you before? Like we spent 200 years building your hospitals and protecting your borders and feeding your hungry? That kind of help? Yes, please. Any help at all. And what happens after we help? In another 100 years, when you are strong again, will you hold another vote? Will you decide once more that humans are too dangerous? Will you send us away again?" Morath opened his mouth, but no words came out. He did not know how to answer. Gina nodded slowly. "I thought so. You do not even know yourself. You might do it again. You probably would do it again. Because you still do not understand what you did wrong. Then tell me. Help me understand." Gina walked past him and sat in one of his chairs. She looked very tired, like someone who had traveled a long way. "You thought we were a problem," she said. "You thought humans were growing too fast, becoming too powerful, taking too much space. You were afraid of what we might become. Yes, that is true. But you never asked why we were doing those things. You never wondered what drove us to build and grow and spread." Morath sat across from her. "I assumed it was greed, or ambition, or aggression. It was love," Gina said simply. "Love? Humans do not build for ourselves. We build for our children, for our grandchildren, for generations we will never meet. We spread across the stars because we want our descendants to have room to grow. We create technology because we want to solve problems that cause suffering. We work hard because we want to leave the universe better than we found it." She leaned forward. "We helped your species for 200 years, not because we wanted something from you. We helped because helping is what humans do. We see people in pain, and we try to stop the pain. We see people in danger, and we try to remove the danger. It is who we are." Morath felt shame burn in his chest. "We did not see that. We only saw the numbers, the growth rates, the expansion. You saw what you wanted to see, what you feared to see. You turned our greatest strength into evidence of danger. I am sorry." Gina studied him for a long moment. "I believe you are. But being sorry is not enough. The galaxy must change. Not just apologize. Change. How? What must we do?" Gina stood and walked back to the window. "That is for you to figure out. I cannot tell you how to be better. You must find that path yourself. But people are dying while we search for that path. Yes, they are, and that is terrible. But lasting change comes from understanding, not desperation. If we help you now, before you truly understand what happened, you will learn nothing. In another 100 years, we will be back here again. Morath joined her at the window. Below them, the station floated in darkness. Beyond that, a galaxy in chaos. Is there no hope at all? He asked. Gina was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was softer. There is always hope. Humans believe that. We have faced extinction many times in our history. Wars, plagues, climate disasters. Each time, we found a way forward. Not because we were strong or smart, but because we refused to give up. Then you will help us? I did not say that. I said there is hope. What you do with that hope is your choice. She moved toward the door. Morath wanted to stop her, to beg her to stay, to plead for any scrap of mercy. But he understood. Somehow, that begging would only prove her point, that he still saw humans as tools to be used, not partners to be respected. Wait, he said. Will you at least tell me something? Gina paused at the door. Is humanity angry with us? Do you hate us for what we did? Gina thought about the question carefully. Some humans are angry. Some feel betrayed. But most feel sad. We offered friendship, and it was rejected. We gave love, and it was thrown back in our faces. That is not something you get angry about. It is something you mourn. She opened the door. Goodbye, head speaker. I hope, for everyone's sake, that the next time we meet, things will be different. She left without looking back. Morath stood alone in his office for a long time. The weight of everything pressed down on him. The deaths, the suffering, the collapse of everything he had worked for. But somewhere under that weight, a small thought began to grow. Hope, Gina had said. There was always hope. He walked to his desk and picked up his communication device. He pressed buttons and waited. This is Morath, he said when the connection opened. Call the council. All of them. Every species. Tell them we need to talk. Not about blame or anger or fear. About the future. About how to be better. He paused and looked out the window at the dark stars. Tell them I have an idea. 2 years after the vote, the Great Hall of the Galactic Council was full again. But everything had changed. The platforms that once held proud, powerful delegates now held humble survivors. Species that had ruled vast empires now struggled to feed their people. Governments that had commanded fleets of thousands now begged for scraps. And in the center of the hall, on the platform where Ambassador Yuna had once stood alone, a single human waited. His name was Tay. He was young, perhaps 30 years old, with kind eyes and a gentle voice. He wore the same simple white uniform that Yuna had worn, with no decorations or symbols of rank. He was not an ambassador. He was not a general or a leader. He was a teacher from a small town on Earth, chosen specifically because he was ordinary. Because humanity wanted to show that this moment was not about power. It was about understanding. Morath stood on his platform and looked at the young human with something like hope. Thank you for coming, Morath said. We know humanity had no obligation to answer our call. Tay bowed slightly. The Galactic Council asked for a meeting. We decided to listen. Before we begin, I must say something. Something I should have said 2 years ago. Morath paused and looked around the hall. Every delegate was watching. Every species was listening. On behalf of the Galactic Council and every species represented here, I apologize. We were wrong. We acted from fear and ignorance. We punished humanity for being what you are. Helpful, generous, and kind. We threw away the greatest friends the galaxy has ever known, and we have paid a terrible price for our foolishness. The hall was silent. No one argued. No one protested. They had all learned the truth through suffering. Tay listened to the apology with a calm expression. When Morath finished, he nodded slowly. Thank you for those words, Tay said. They mean much to my people. But words alone cannot rebuild what was broken. We know. That is why we asked you here. We want to discuss the future. We want to ask humanity to return. Return? Tay raised an eyebrow. Return to what? To being your servants? To doing your work while you treat us as less than equals? To waiting for the next vote that throws us away again? No. Morath shook his head firmly. Return as partners. As equals. As members of a new council where every species has the same voice. Oh, every species. Every species. A murmur ran through the hall. Equal voice. This was something new. The old council had been based on power. Larger species had more votes. Stronger species had more influence. The weak served the strong. What Morath was suggesting would change everything. Tay considered the offer for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button, and words appeared in the air above his head. Humanity has discussed this possibility, Tay said. We have prepared terms. These are not negotiable. You may accept them or reject them, but you may not change them. The hall grew tense. Some delegates looked nervous, others looked angry, but they all listened. Term 1, Tay read. Complete equality. Every species has one vote in council matters. No exceptions. No special privileges. The Villani vote counts the same as the Torvax vote. The human vote counts the same as the Rethki vote. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Species that had enjoyed extra power did not like losing it. But no one objected. They could not afford to. Term 2. Free exchange of knowledge. All technology, medicine, and information will be shared openly. No species may keep secrets that could help others. If humanity cures a disease, the cure belongs to everyone. If the Fenari discover a new energy source, the discovery belongs to everyone. This term caused more muttering. Species had always guarded their secrets. Knowledge was power. Sharing it freely went against thousands of years of tradition, but again, no one objected. Term 3. Mutual defense. An attack on any species is an attack on all. If pirates raid Torvax worlds, every species helps defend them. If plague strikes Villani planets, every species helps cure it. We stand together, or we fall alone. The Torvax commander, who had once blamed Morath for everything, leaned forward with interest. His border colonies had been devastated. A mutual defense agreement would save what remained. Term 4. Freedom of movement. Any member of any species may travel to any world in the galaxy. No borders, no restrictions, no prohibition against any species visiting any place. Tay paused and looked directly at Morath. Including Earth. Morath understood. Humanity was removing all barriers. They were offering complete openness, and they were asking the galaxy to do the same. Term 5. This is the final term. Tay's voice grew more serious. Humanity reserves the right to leave at any time. If the galaxy breaks these terms, if any species violates the spirit of this agreement, humanity will withdraw again. Immediately, permanently. There will be no third chance. The hall was completely silent. The weight of that final term pressed down on everyone. One more mistake, and humanity would be gone forever. And this time, the galaxy knew it would not survive. Morath looked around at his fellow delegates. He saw fear in their eyes. But he also saw something else. Something that had not been there 2 years ago. Understanding. May we have time to discuss among ourselves? Morath asked. Tay shook his head. No. You have had 2 years to discuss. You have had 2 years to see what the galaxy looks like without humanity. You know what you want. You know what you need. The only question is whether you are brave enough to accept it. Morath took a deep breath. This was the moment. Everything he had worked for, everything he had suffered through, came down to this single decision. I accept the terms, he said. On behalf of the Villani. One by one, other voices rose. The Rethki accept. The Torvax accept. The Fenari accept. Around the hall, Platform after platform lit up with agreement. 200 species, speaking with one voice for the first time in history. When the last delegate had spoken, Tay smiled. It was a warm smile, genuine and hopeful. "Then it is done," he said. "Humanity accepts your acceptance. From this moment forward, we are partners, equals, friends." He pressed another button on his device, and the wall of the great hall flickered. Behind it, a sight that made every delegate gasp. Ships. Thousands of human ships. Floating just outside the council station. Medical vessels. Food transports. Construction platforms. Engineering crews. An entire fleet of help, waiting for permission to begin. "We did not know if you would accept," Tay admitted. "But we hoped, and humans always prepare for the things we hope for." Morath felt tears forming in his eyes again. But this time, they were not tears of shame or sorrow. "You were ready to help us, even after everything we did?" Tay nodded. "That is what humans do. We help, even when it hurts, even when we have been hurt, because helping others is not a weakness, it is the greatest strength any species can have." The ships began to move. They spread out through the galaxy like seeds carried by wind. Doctors rushed to hospitals, engineers rushed to factories, teachers rushed to schools. Within hours, the healing had begun. In her garden on Earth, Yuna watched the news reports with quiet satisfaction. The galaxy had accepted the terms. Humanity was returning. Not as servants or tools, but as equals. Admiral Han found her among her flowers, as he had so many times before. "It worked," he said. "Your plan actually worked." Yuna smiled. "It was never about punishment. It was about teaching. Some lessons can only be learned through pain. And now we build something new. Something better. A galaxy where every species matters. Where helping others is honored instead of feared. Where no one ever has to walk away again." She picked a flower from her garden, a beautiful bloom from Velen Prime, and held it up to the sunlight. "The galaxy voted to prohibit Earth," she said softly, "but they did not understand. You cannot prohibit love. You cannot vote away kindness. You can only reject it. And when you reject it, you lose everything that made it valuable." Han watched her for a moment. "Do you think it will last? This new partnership?" Yuna placed the flower gently in her pocket. "I think it has a chance. And that is all anyone can ask for. A chance to be better. A chance to learn from mistakes. A chance to grow together, instead of apart." She turned and walked toward her house, where work was waiting. Reports to read. Plans to make. A future to build. Behind her, the garden bloomed with flowers from across the galaxy. Each one a reminder of what had been lost, and what had been found again. The galaxy had prohibited Earth, and humanity had shown them what that truly meant. Now, together, they would write a different story.